Hey everybody, welcome back to Kat's Kitchen. Today I'm so excited because we are bringing back canning for the season. So there's going to be a couple recipes we're going to do today. We're going to work on a few tomato products. And so we're going to get right into that. And the book I'm going to be using here, you may not be able to read, it's backwards, but it's the All New Ball Book of Canning and Preserving. You can get this on Amazon or probably a local bookstore as well. So that is a really good book. We're going to be on page 207. We're going to be working with the vodka sauce base, and then we're also going to be on page 287 today. We're going to make the roasted tomato soup. So we're going to get right into it, and before we do, I just wanted to ask you guys to please like, share, and subscribe for me. Also, you can check out the description box below for our website. I keep putting more recipes on there for you guys on catskitchenblog.com, so go check those out. So like I said, we're going to start off here with our vodka sauce base. Now, while I'm doing the vodka sauce, I'm also going to let you know that for our roasted tomato soup, I'll just read you down the recipe for that as well, because I have the tomatoes in the oven currently roasting on 375. And what you have to do is you have to take I'm using Roma tomatoes. It says to use, let's see, plum tomatoes. You want to core them and slice them in half and then take out the seeds, and then I have them roasting on a baking sheet in the oven right now. So for the roasted tomato soup, you'll need 8 pounds of plum tomatoes, 5 teaspoons of salt divided, 2 teaspoons of ground black pepper, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 2 cups of chopped onion, 4 garlic cloves minced, 1 cup of dry white wine, that's optional, 4 cups of chicken or vegetable stock, and 1 cup of basil leaves. Okay, so that's for our roasted tomato soup. And for our vodka sauce base, we're going to need 1.5 cups of finely chopped onion, 1 cup of vodka, half a cup of water, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 5 garlic cloves minced, 6 pounds of plum tomatoes, cored and coarsely chopped, 2 large basil sprigs, and 1 teaspoon of citric acid. Or you can use bottled lemon juice. It says, or a quarter cup of bottled lemon juice. Okay, so we're going to get going here on our sauce since our tomatoes are in the oven right now for the soup. What I did is, for whenever I have a canning project, just to kind of let you guys know a little bit of the process, is I don't usually have time to get everything done in one day. So what I did last night is I prepped a bunch of my veggies. So that's why I already cored and halved my tomatoes for the soup, and then I took for the vodka sauce, for my 6 pounds of plum tomatoes, I already chopped them up in the food processor. And then while I had the food processor out, I chopped up a bunch of onions. And you can see on the table behind me, I also was working with some cucumbers for some pickle products. That's going to be in another video. We're going to make a few different types of relish and pickles, so stay tuned for that video. But right now we're going to work on our sauce here. So it says to bring the first 6 ingredients to a boil, and we're going to reduce the heat and cover for about 10 minutes. So I'm going to get everything that we need here. I already have our tomatoes in our stock pot, so I'm going to get you a look here. Alrighty friends, so we are back at it here. I had to add a few things to our sauce, our vodka sauce, just to kind of bring it up to the flavors that we like. I noticed that this recipe really doesn't call for a lot of different, ingredients. So I added in, I already added in the basil like it called for, and the salt and pepper, the garlic, that's all in there. I also added in some granulated garlic and some parsley because it just wasn't tasting like an Italian sauce. And this has been cooking and reducing down now for a few hours. It wasn't to my likeness for the thickness, so I did add in 1 small can of tomato paste to thicken it up. And then I just tasted it. The flavors are starting to come together, but what I'm gonna do is add in 1 more half cup of our vodka. I'm gonna let this cook down even more. So I just wanted to kind of bring you back to the sauce so that you knew exactly what I was doing with it. I'm probably gonna add in some more basil and garlic to this as well, just to kind of enhance that flavor. But it's starting to thicken up very nicely now. So I'll give you a look and you can see what that is here in a minute. But also I wanted to let you know our roasted Roma tomatoes are done in the oven. And I let them cool on the on the sheet that I had. And then what I did is you're supposed to take the skins off. So once they're cool enough to touch, you can slip the skins off. So here I have probably about a peck worth of Romas in here. And if you're not sure what a peck is a half of a bushel. So it's basically a quarter of a bushel. So 4 pecks would equal 1 bushel. Okay, so our sauce is still working here pretty good. I will just let that keep reducing down, and then I'll show you that here, like I said, in a minute when I flip the camera around. But we're gonna get going here on our roasted tomato soup, since we have our roasted tomatoes in here with the skins off. And so that recipe was calling for 8 pounds of plum tomatoes. I'm making it a little bit smaller. And then we're gonna do 5 teaspoons of salt divided, and then 2 teaspoons of ground pepper, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 2 cups of chopped onion, 4 garlic cloves minced, 1 cup of dry wine. If you prefer, you can opt out for that. 4 cups of chicken or vegetable stock, and then 1 cup of basil. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn our front burner on here, and then we're gonna get going with our soup. Red wine to this because that's what I have. I'm sure you can use red or white. And I'm actually using a port wine. The reason why I don't really want to use a dry wine is because there's a lot of acidity going on in here with the tomatoes as it is and the onions. So with the sweeter wine, it's going to kind of cut through a little bit of your acidity and give you more of a balanced flavor profile. Instead of adding sugar to it, I know a lot of people add sugar to their sauces or tomato products just to counteract that. So I'm trying to achieve that with the more sweeter wine. Just a little tidbit for you. Okay, so now we need to get 4 cups of our either chicken or vegetable broth. And then I'll put our basil in now. This is going to cook for a little while. It says to cook for 20 minutes. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to blitz this up with my stick mixer. And that way I can just utilize the pot that it's already in. I don't have to dirty anything else. I don't have to dirty a blender. You can do it in a blender if you need to. The only other thing you can do is if you don't have a blender or food processor or anything, you can just chop up your tomatoes really, really small after you take the skins off of them. That's also another way you can do it. And you'll have a little bit more of a chunky soup, but that's okay. If that's something that doesn't bother you or your family, then that's great. So next I'm gonna get our 4 cups of broth in here, and I'm just gonna make that with some, I have some vegetable base in here that I'm gonna make. Super, super easy. So I'm gonna use my good filtered water, and then I'll put some of this in there, and that'll be my stock, and then we're gonna let this cook for quite a while so that those flavors develop. Alrighty, so here's a look at our sauce. It is starting to get thicker, and you can see here it's definitely reduced down. This is only about a peck of Romas as well. I'm sorry, is it a peck? Yeah, it's a peck. It should be, like I said before, a quarter of a bushel. And here is our soup right now, looking good. I just put our 4 cups of water in there along with my beef base. I'm sorry, my vegetable base to make our broth. This is just gonna cook and get married together until these tomatoes start to break down. Look how beautiful these tomatoes are, really, really nice from our local farm. And I want this all to come together, get all nice and happy. Our sauce here is probably gonna be the first one to get ready to can, so I'm gonna get some quart jars for the sauce and the soup. And the recipe actually calls to water bath can this, but because it has onions in it, I feel more comfortable pressure canning it, so that's what I'm going to do. Alrighty guys, so here is our tomato soup, and I have our sauce in the canner already. I was able to get 2 quarts and 1 pint of the sauce and 3 quarts of our tomato soup. So we're just gonna lift these and put them in here with our little jar lifter. Like I said, I'm gonna pressure can these because there are onions in them. I'm gonna pressure can them for the same time. And I'm just following my recipe here. Let me go grab that real fast. We're gonna process our quarts for 60 minutes. And you have to go off of your pressure for your area. So make sure you look that up. So you also have to watch how much water you put in there. You want to make sure your seal is good on your lid. Make sure your little spout right here is good. I'm going to pull that up to the light. Make sure I can see through it. I'm going to put our lid on. Make sure I have it on correctly here. I've got to flip this around. I had turned on the fire obviously so this would start to burn up while I was packing the jars. Now this is locked, and I'm going to show you what this looks like here. So what we need to do is, this is obviously a dial gauge pressure canner. We're going to wait until I have my fire on high there. We're going to wait until we have a consistent stream, and once that happens, we're going to set the timer for 10 minutes and let that vent. And then after that vents, we're going to put the little regulator on top of it here. That'll stop the venting, and then that will raise up the pressure on our gauge. You just have to follow the instructions for your canner, your specific canner, whether you have a dial gauge like this one or if you have a weighted gauge, because they're going to be two different timings and whatnot for your recipes. So I'll show you guys what they look like when we pull them out of the canner. Also, I wanted to mention, after this vents for 10 minutes and we put our regulator on, then we're going to watch our pressure, and this is where you want to know what pressure you are for where you are, as far as where you're at sea level. For mine, it has to be at least 11 and above. Anything above that range for myself is safe. So then you have to keep that needle at that point and above for the whole entire canning process. Once it hits 11 for me, I'm gonna then start my timer for 60 minutes. And it has to maintain at least 11 and above for that entire 60 minutes. And then once the time is done, I can kill the fire and let that needle go all the way down. And then once that needle's all the way down, then I can take my little regulator off. Be very careful to just let that steam, let everything come all the way down, let the steam go out before you open the lid. And then once that's all done, and then this little thing here, this little button will pop back down to let you know that there's no pressure in there anymore, and then you can release the lid. So I will see you guys back here once it's all done.